Oh, hi, party people. Yeah, I just felt like doing something a little bit artificy when I started today. Uh, Partly because, well, flair is what this movie was all about. This is, of course, the Monday Media Review for Live and Let Die from 1973. And we'll spend a fair bit of time on trivia at the end, but one piece of trivia I can give you at the beginning is this was actually Roger Moore's first outing as 007. Do I think it was his most successful? Um, well, let's put it this way. I used to love this movie until I just rewatched it. Now, I still like it. Don't get me wrong, but how to put this? Also, it's Sunday morning, so I do apologize for scraping the sleep out of my eyes. But yeah, trying to get things done ahead of time today. Um, I still like the movie. It's still good. Having just finished the live reads of Live and Let Die last Wednesday, whew, it is significantly departed from the book. Uh, Ian Fleming had died in 1964. This film was not even a conception at the time. So, yeah, that kind of probably plays into it a little bit. Um, while I'm no particular fan of Daniel Craig's grittier Bond, something grittier than this might be more appetizing. Now, speaking of appetizing, we've got Jane Seymour in her first role as well at 22 years old, and yeah, appetizing, tasty. All those adjectives come to mind. In any case, let's get into this. So you should be able to see my. No, you can't see my cursor. No big deal. Okay, so from the cover image, we go to the first image that we see, and yes, it is in fact good old classic Leo. And I'll grab my notes here now so I can actually. Oh, come on, get back there. So I can actually give a intelligent discourse about what I'm looking at. So yeah, this is um, classic Leo. So yeah, we all remember that sound, or at least those of us who are old enough to have experienced it. Sorry, I have to put my pen away. I fidget if I don't. So, so the next image, another classic, the opening with the shot, the view down the barrel, and yeah, this is a classic, beautiful piece of cinematic work. Uh, it really does have one of the best visual flares to it, and it's been a motif through, I want to say all the Bond movies, but I'm not certain of that. Partly because I haven't seen all the Bond movies recently enough that I can recollect whether it's in all of them. Uh, and I'm not sure it was in Casino Royale either. So, moving along, the first shot we have is just some guy looking cool. It's not Bond. For a brief moment, I thought, is that Sean Connery? And then I realized, no, that's definitely not Sean Connery's jaw. Uh, but this is a shot from New Orleans, and I will refer to it as New Orleans. If I'm pronouncing it wrong, I know folk in Louisiana like to hear it pronounced Nolans, but I can't do that without looking like I'm being caricaturish. So, but this is a shot from New Orleans, and probably contemporary, actually in the streets there, and it's nice. That's all I really want to say about it. Like the background is to me as important as the figure in the foreground at this point. This is some secret agent. I forget his name, and I do apologize. But I was, as I said, I was struck by the background as well because I mean these are images I wasn't young enough to see when they were made. This movie came out a couple of years before I was born. Uh, this scene here, there's a very clever thing done with this coffin, which I won't spoil. But I did notice, and it's kind of hard to ignore, fillet of sole, and it made me wonder: is that an actual soul food place? Is it actually selling fish? And it is, in fact, an actual, still extant restaurant in New Orleans. So that's on my bucket list now. And it does figure in the film later. But yeah, the Filet of Soul restaurant says continuous entertainment behind this individual. Also, I want to point out this is how people were dressing back then. This is the what, early 70s. And I mean, yeah, you've got a lot of bright colors and uh, I mean, even this old fella who's probably dressed fairly casually and probably just some random extra that happened to be on the street or something they dressed. Uh, Even he looks far more dapper than most of us do these days, and I do love the hats. Yeah. So, I mean, in some ways, this film, because it's 53 years old, is a bit of a cultural experience as well. It's a bit of a culture study. So, or even a bit of history. Now, granted, you have to bear in mind there is a certain degree of artifice to it. So, uh, now in the movie, it's San Monique is the setting for the action in the Caribbean. Of course, those of us who actually read the book, and those of you who listened along with me as I was reading it, excuse me, we're aware that that wasn't actually how it was in the book. In the book, it was simply a place in Jamaica. But the setting has been changed dramatically, is the way I will put it. And didn't really realize the irony of that statement until I had said it. What did I say about San Monique here? Fictional. They had considered shooting in Haiti. Unfortunately, at the time, it was still under the control of Papa Doc. Not really a place you want to take a bunch of Americans. And San Monique, in the real world, is actually a Haitian island. So, I guess that's why this ended up being called San Monique. What did I say here? The voodoo ritual. Yeah. A lot of what is considered to be, excuse me, part of voodoo is actually, and even what they consider the darker practices, either comes from European paganism or, in some cases, is made up whole cloth. Voodoo itself doesn't really exist. There is a religion called Voodoo, which is significantly different than what's portrayed on screen. Yeah. I will say, though, that this fella's costume is something special. And I believe this is a real snake. I know there's one later that is not. But, yeah. And then, talking about the old titles and the intro, yeah. One of the things that these intro sequences always did very well was appreciate the female form, and this is no exception. If you're someone who finds the female form visually appealing, you will enjoy these sequences. And Roger Moore's movies especially seem to have the biggest emphasis on those, though I think it continued to be something going forward. Excuse me. Yeah, and I mean, the way that they did some of the effects and things in this, it's all practical. None of this was computerized. So, I mean, that will come up over and over in this, is how very impressed I was with the practical effects and how good they still look. What else have we got here? Oh, yeah. Yeah, speaking of appreciating the female form. Yeah. But I will say horny gadgetry is potentially the best gadgetry. There's a lot of gadgets in this film. To the point that occasionally it becomes a bit of a... how to put it? Something that takes away from the film a little bit sometimes. Yeah, that's probably the best way to put it. Let's see. This is number 11. Yeah, the old practical camera tricks. I didn't pause it at the best spot. I didn't grab the best screenshot. But what you're seeing here is a reflective table, and there's actually, I believe it's an airplane being projected in the background, and she's laying the cards down over the image of the plane. Extremely well done practical camera trick. Uh, so, I mean, very impressive. Uh, what did I say here? CGI would have aged horribly in 50 years. Yeah, in 53 years, what we consider top of the line CGI now is going to look like shite. Uh, and I mean, within, what was it, 4 or 5 years of the Star Wars re release, uh, the added CGI already started to look pretty dated. Now, there's some of the shots that still look okay, but none of it looks as good as it did the first time we saw it because, well, the first time we saw it, we didn't really have basis for comparison. Um, oh, Felix Leiter. That is not what I expected Felix Leiter to look like. Felix has figured in the first two Bond books pretty heavily. I didn't notice this before either, but this almost looks like a pointer from a Ouija board. Down in the bottom left corner there. Though I think it's just part of the lamp. But I mean, even something as prosaic as a lamp. Look at how nice that looks. Like the architectural and colors and things like that that they show us for it. It's just beautiful. Sorry, I gotta get my notes back in order here. 13 of 14. So the next two. Oh, yeah, an ingenious idea for an assassination tool. So he's got a rangefinder viewfinder in the car, and on the passenger side wing mirror is a camera, which is what he was looking at the crosshairs through, and a dart launcher. I mean, it's so insanely outrageously unlikely. But this is one of the things that I loved about Bond is all the gadgetry was just silly, but just that much believable. If you suspend your if you actually participate in suspension of disbelief for films like this, you will have a good time. It is absolutely completely bullshit cockamamie insanity, but it's so much fun. Uh, yeah, car stunts have come a long way since as well, but I mean, even this looked great during the actual film when you're watching it. It looks great because it looks so real. Because it's all practical. That's a real human being driving that car. Potentially two in there. Where am I here? 15. Yeah, the automotive action was pretty dynamic. Yeah, for the time, this was actually really good. And I think this film was inspired by some really great ones and inspired other really great ones. Uh, 16. This fella, who is Kananga, is a fictional creation. Not sure why the story was changed so much from the novel. Perhaps the Smersh angle was seen as too fantastic. Yeah, it's ironic I use that. Um, but yeah, this is the he's a diplomat from the island of San Monique at the UN. This whole thing kind of centers around the UN. This scene. Um, Strange, very very strange. I don't know why they made so many big departures from the novels. Perhaps it was really more about the spectacle of the thing than anything else. Some of the puns and things. I don't know if this place was real. It never even occurred to me to go and do a search and see if this place might be real. Uh, though I truly suspect it's not. But to call something the occult voodoo shop is pretty funny. Yeah. Yeah, and something else I did point out too. Films in this era, this is the blaxploitation era. So I think a lot of this stuff is fairly blaxploitative. And yes, you're going to hear that word a bit. Blaxploitative. Oh, this excellent bit of visual here. This is the bad guys getting into the vehicle, and there's a very large individual. And to show that there's a very large individual, it's kind of hard to see, but you can see the difference in the shocks. That compression impressed me very, very much. Um, 20 and 21. Yeah, $20 is $20, brother. Excuse me. This is probably one of the better jokes in the film. That's kind of a quick throwaway thing. Hey man, for $20, I'll take you to a Ku Klux Klan and cookout. And this character does show up again. Yeah, I mean, fun, right? That seems to have been one of the most important things for the filmmakers here, is to make sure the audience was having fun. And this was a good line, right? I mean, you imagine a black man in Harlem in the early '70s saying, "Brother, for $20, I'll take you to a Ku Klux Klan cookout." I'd titter my ass off then, let alone now. And of course, we have another fillet of soul. This one's not real, and this was the thing I was going to point out. Uh, it's hilarious that they called it the fillet of soul. Used that pun. Sorry, I've got such an itchy nose lately. Ah, must be the dry air. But as I mentioned, that there would be another coming up in the film. What they did, I guess whoever the filmmakers were, I guess they saw Filet of Soul in New Orleans and decided that it would make a good kind of gimmick for the film. So they created a fictional chain of Filet of Soul stores. This is 22. I don't think that one's real, is what I wrote down. And then I checked, and yeah, not real. Yeah. One element they did keep from the book is, I mean, there's no better term for it, the Negro Surveillance Network. It's or the Negro Surveillance Association, I suppose. But it's one of the few elements from the novel that was really, really important. Like, it had a strong effect on the story, and this, having it actually come back when so many other things have been changed, it's good to see. Let me see, what is that? 23. Yeah, the Negro Surveillance Network is from the book. 24. Yeah. This one I said it was makeup reminiscent of Star Trek in the '60s. This was probably not a particularly uncommon look, but ornate to say the least. Like, I'm sure the average housewife didn't look like this. But then again, if the average housewife looked like Jane Seymour, I think we'd all be happily married men at this point. Let's see, what else have we got here? Yeah, this one I said, yeah, this is definitely blaxploitative. You take this honky out and waste him now. Oh, excuse me. Sorry, guys. I am fighting a cold again as well. Or cancer, I don't know. Could be either. The peppermint tea is probably not helping. Oh, excuse me. And apologies. Okay, 26. Yeah, this kind of struck me pretty hard. It's hard to believe that this is how any city in the modern Western world looked at any point, or any part of any city. But apparently this is Harlem. That's, damn. I don't believe this is a soundstage. Let me see. Yeah. But this scene is actually a lead up to, well, nowadays it's not the most impressive fight scene, but at least it was kind of dynamic and improved. And improved in the way that in an actual fight you might improv, so not terrible. There's a few puns in here. Yeah, I did say it was creative, if not particularly forceful or dynamic flight choreography. Yeah. Gadget puns. Really? Gadget puns? Yeah. Um, Bond gets in the car and the lighter is the radio, and Felix Leiter is talking to him, so it's a genuine Felix Leiter. Yeah. It's that level of humor sometimes. It's clever, but dear God, is it dry. Uh, what else did I say here? Yeah, they barely spent any time in New York. Uh, I assume because the exotic setting was, yeah, more. They figured the exotic setting would be something that would draw the audience more at the time. They certainly went in for spectacle, if a little gauche. Yeah, this is a bit much by modern standards, but I suppose any spectacle you can manage to get on screen when you're trying to put spectacle on screen is something. And I mean, there is a degree of innocence to it. Nobody was really concerned in the 70s with how anybody might feel about what they see on TV or in film. They just wanted to have something that would draw audiences. Turns out this is a speckled king snake. When I saw it, I was like, no, that's a real snake, but it's not venomous. And then I had to go out of my way to find it. And of course, it is portrayed as a venomous, dangerous snake from uh, the Caribbean in the film. It's from California, and it's not venomous. Um, yeah. What do we got here? It's a clever way to make a flamethrower, even though it would never actually fucking work. And this is, I think, some sort of deodorant spray and a lit cigar. That's not gonna work, James. You need an actual open flame for those. Actually, that might be hairspray, considering considering the hairstyles of the time. Fun fact: my uncle used to wear the same hairstyle as Roger Moore. Let's see, 32 and 33. Yes. I did laugh because I guess the wig thing is a stereotype for a reason. Uh, Meet Rosie Carver. Yeah. Don't worry, you won't have to put up with her long. Another inserted character not in the novel. Not only not in the novel, but apparently just added for the sake of having a bit more skin in the film. It was the extremely horny 70s. What do you expect? Right. What else have we got here? 34. Yeah, the acting. Oof. When I saw this particular scene, the acting was so bad that I had to actually take a break from the film and go and see what critic reactions were at the time. Now it's kind of hard to get contemporary to the film reactions, but the few I was able to find talk about the very stilted acting. Some of it is extremely stilted, but the apparent focus far more on visual flair and the artifice of the film. Yeah, it's definitely there. What would I say here? To be kind, since we're going to try and do a sandwich, the actress playing Rosie is quite attractive. Let's do the compliment sandwich there. So yeah, as bad as the acting is, she's attractive certainly, and I kind of wonder how good the script was. So that's fair too. And I forget who the director was. We'll come to that later. But I don't think it was a particularly. I mean, it was an ambitious project because it was something they were trying to keep Sean Connery's Bond going, though Moore obviously has his own take on the character. Excuse me. And the gadget thing is far more emphasized in these films than they appeared to be in the Bond and the Connery films. Yes, Connery is always going to be my Bond, even though I grew up with Roger Moore. Let's see, what else have we got here? 35. From something I discovered actually exists, the Internet Movie Car Database. This is a 1972 Leland Mini Moke, which was built in Australia specifically for the Jamaican market. Crazy. And I very badly would like to get my hands on one and actually try. Apparently, they're over 50,000 euro now, or sorry, 50,000 pounds now. So I'm not really that worried about it. Yeah, but I thought it was a cute detail, and I figured I'd then a little bit more history. So yeah, watch old movies, kids. You never know what you'll learn. Let's see. This is 36. One thing I did like was the fact that they did not only did they keep the character Quarrel, this fella, but they also kept him close to what he was like in the book, so that was good. And again, as I pointed out, they really only put Rosie Carver in there to get a bit of skin in a bikini. She does look good in bikini. I'll give her that. Let's see, where are we? 37. Yeah. They did almost as good a job dressing sets as they did dressing Jane Seymour. uh, I mean, the one of the first things that came to mind when I saw this tableau, this entire shot, as a screenshot, was like, wow, that reminds me of, the old DeMille epics in some ways. So, I mean, that kind of ornate baroqueness in a film doesn't happen a lot anymore. And it's absolutely gorgeous. And that whole thing behind her actually features in later. Of course, any excuse for shagging. Yeah, this is the Austin Powers spoofable era of James Bond. This is the "Do I make you a horny, baby?" era. Yeah, yeah. Some more amazing acting. To be fair, until she, at a certain point, if she had stopped and not dramatized more than she needed to, this isn't bad, but it rapidly goes past the point of being good. Oh yeah, more silly. More silly gadgets. So here we have a coconut trail cam with a gun. No, I'm not kidding. That's actually what it is. That's why this is smoky, because the gun is just fired and killed poor Rosie. Yeah. And as I said, it featured in later. That is an absolutely gorgeous shot. I mean, look at that. And every bit of it practical. So somebody built this set. Somebody lit this set. Somebody decided, what kind of design do we want on the floor? How do we put it there? What kind of chair do we... It's just beautiful. 3041. Set dressing and costuming. Yeah, it's a damned important visual. And just gorgeous. Yeah, stilted dialogue, wooden acting again. Yeah. Don't mind Bond, though. He's just hanging out. I'm sorry. I couldn't help myself. There's so many puns and jokes in this film, I had to start making my own. Yeah. I will say, though, that this might be the first instance of a hang glider kill. And, yeah, I did think this was a bit clever, but it's one of those... And that's the thing with a lot of films. A clever thing will sometimes be very, very quick. More appreciation of the female form? Yes. Yes, it is. Damn. Oh, yeah. Now, Bond has just deflowered this chick and taken away her ability to see the future, as far as she knows at the moment. And his response when she feels depressed is, "Cheer up, it has to be a first time for everyone." Also, I will point out that when this film was made, Roger Moore was 45 years old. Jane Seymour was 22. Yeah, yeah. So there's that. Yeah, this is the point where I started to say, okay, the gadgetry is getting a bit much. Now, this one's clever. It's a radio and a flute that was apparently playing a moment ago and couldn't possibly have with that particular piece of electronics inside it. But yeah, what did I say here? Too much gadgetry is starting to show the lack of depth in the film's writing. Yeah, the writing isn't that great. Makes me glad Fleming never lived to see this. Yeah, I don't think Fleming would have appreciated all the gadgetry. Not in his own work, anyway. Let's see. Oh, yeah, this. Um, for those of you who don't remember, it was extremely common for a vehicle shot or an interior vehicle shot, for example, to shoot out a window and they would have a projected image behind them, behind the outside the window. That doesn't look projected, does it? The quality of the film is so good, or at least so equal to what's being shot inside, that it looks good. Now, this is a still. In the motion, you can see that it's actually an image, a moving picture. But, I mean, in the still shot, it looks beautiful because the quality of the film is the same. Sorry, I just spat all over my microphone and my keyboard. But yeah, the old practical effects, they still look so good. And CGI ages so fast. I don't know why. Well, obviously, I do know why. Money. But that just indicates that, how to put it, the the studios have kind of lost the art of making a film, and now are far more focused on the economics of it. Oh, let's see, what are we at? 47. Okay, that's the last one on that page. Damn, she's pretty. 48 and 49. I never saw Jane Seymour on screen before she was in Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman. But she was an absolute beauty for sure. Yeah, this is her as Dr. Quinn. And it's kind of funny. This was 20 years later, give or take, I think. 15 to 20 years, we'll say. I mean, she was a stunner the entire time. She's still alive, for the record. She's born in 51, so she'd be 75 this year. Still an attractive woman. Let's see. Yeah. The Negro Surveillance Network strikes again. Seriously, though, the efficacy and pervasiveness of it is one of the most powerful elements in the novel. I'm glad, even with the blaxploitativeness, oh yeah, I even added a syllable, that it was kept. And yeah, blaxploitative or not, this is one of the best elements in the film that was translated from the book. Problem is, if you haven't read the novel, it's kind of hard to really appreciate what you're looking at here. It does stretch the credibility a bit, especially with how silly it gets. Yeah, this film does get extremely silly, like a car chase inside a plane hangar. Silly. What did I say here? I do miss the occasional smell of pipe tobacco. Its presence here is a little bit of nostalgia that no one could predict. Yeah, when they shot this, there was no way anyone would ever think, gee, I miss when cities looked like that, and people dressed like that, and men would smoke the occasional pipe in public. Yeah. And pipe smoking was far more common back then. Even 20 years ago, it was still fairly common. Well, I wouldn't say fairly, but common enough that it wasn't unusual to the point of going, what the hell? Let me see here. Yeah, the funeral trick. I did mention it earlier, and I'll mention it again. Without spoiling anything, there is an awesome, hilarious trick done twice with this coffin and the whole parade funeral thing. I will admit to not seeing this twist coming. 54. Yeah, I didn't see this coming at all. This one kind of threw me way off. Yeah, that's Kananga under Mr. Big's makeup. Probably should have seen that coming because I've seen this film before, but it's been a long time. Let's see here. Oh, yeah, talking about the changes of elements. They switched from, again, if you were watch or paying attention to the live reads, if you've read the book, um, yeah, the I had to remember to put a link to my live reads in the description for this as well. But well, you can just find it on the same channel that this video is on, so that's not that difficult. But they changed it from gold smuggling to heroin trafficking, and I'm not sure why, other than the fact that heroin trafficking was probably the topical thing at the time. Uh, and yeah, I said it was probably a sign of the times. And yeah, nowadays I guess they'd probably go with fentanyl, which is another thing. I do, however, see why the critics praised this film's visual flair. Yeah, I mean, every time the camera stops, there's something gorgeous to appreciate, whether it's Jane Seymour, the background, or just the way the shot is put together. Uh, Julius Harris. Yeah, Julius Harris might be my favorite part of this film. This guy was so much fun. And yeah, I forget what they called him. Claw, maybe? I'm not sure. But it was probably the inspiration for a couple of different childhood villains of mine. Let me see. 58 and 59. Yes. Of course, like Clint Eastwood's gun, Bond's gadget watch has to fail him at the worst possible time because there's a rope tied to the back of the boat. Yeah. What's. Okay, that one stays there. Okay, so this scene, Bond runs across the top of the backs of the alligators in the water. This was done fucking practically with actual alligators. No, I'm not fucking kidding. The first entry in the trivia, which we'll come to the rest of the trivia later, but we're going to cover this now. It took crocodile wrangler and stuntman Ross Kananga, the villain in the movie was named after him, by the way, 6 takes to complete the scene where he doubles for Roger Moore when Bond flees the bad guys by running across the backs of 3 crocodiles in a swamp. He received $60,000 for the stunt, filmed at Swamp Safaris, his 350-acre mangrove swamp on Jamaica's north coast, where he kept a herd of over 1,000 crocodiles. In a 1973 interview, he explained, something like that is almost impossible to do. So I had to do it 6 times before I got it right. I fell 5 times. The film company kept sending to London for more clothes. The crocs were chewing off everything when I hit the water, including shoes. I received 193 stitches on my leg and face. Now that's fucking suffering for art. Yeah. Can you imagine doing that? Oh, yeah. And here I said, and now begins one of the first and arguably most epic boat chases of all time. No music, though, which I thought was an odd choice. And yeah, there's actually no... You would expect in a modern film you'd have, at the very least, the recurrent theme, the motif from the theme, that da-da-da, da-da-da, da-da-da-da-da. You'd expect that at the very least in an action sequence like a boat chase. No, most of it's completely music-free. I did like G.W. Pepper. Uh, let me see. I do love the sheriff. This character, yeah, I think he was the prototype for Buford T. Justice. I think very much he was the prototype for several different well, not even necessarily stereotypical, but the good old boy character. And when I said this was an epic boat chase, I fucking meant epic. There's a lot of boat jumping in this. There's one... Yeah. We'll leave it for a second. But this definitely has a taste of the Blues Brothers. Yeah. Blues Brothers, for the record, was filmed 7 years after this. Smokey and the Bandit was filmed at least 6 years after this. Yeah. So Buford T. Justice, the the car damage, and we'll come to more of it later, from the Blues Brothers. A lot of it might have been inspired by this particular film. Now, I did point out here, continuity must have been a challenge, or the editor fucked up. you will remember that the boat that was doing the jump, which was the boat Bond was in, and the boat that Bond jumped into, it wasn't brown, it was red. A little later in the chase, Bond jumps into this boat. So I think parts of the chase got edited a bit mixed up. Again, shit happens, but I wouldn't give the editor an award. Yeah, and the crazy shit they did with these boats. Yeah, good stunts. There's a couple of different times where the boats will cross various stretches of land or jump, as we saw. That boat, if I remember correctly, actually ends up in a pool. The brown boat that Bond was in the last shot is actually one he steals from this fella. Or commandeers, I suppose, if we want to be kind. I did mention the Blues Brothers. Let me see, where am I? 67. Definitely influenced the Blues Brothers. I honestly do believe that it did. The great big car pileup that they have in the Blues Brothers, I'm fairly certain it was inspired by some of these scenes. I did point out, too, that I kind of missed the fact that that's definitely not a limpet mine. Yeah, that was thermal charge or some shit they called it. I had to go and see what this was. This gun here. The gun that Bond is carrying. That is a Smith & Wesson Model 29 in 44 Magnum. Yeah, it's Dirty Harry's gun. Before Dirty Harry. Yeah. Bond might have inspired Dirty Harry, too. I did say here that obvious rubber snake is obvious. This one is obviously rubber. One would assume because, he's doing things like that with it, shoving it up in the air, things of that nature. Let me see. Oh, sorry, no, I had it backwards. Bond might have been inspired by Dirty Harry. Yeah. Very close contemporarily. I think that's a word. That's the same expression on my face at how hokey the acting is sometimes. Yeah. Yeah. Of course, in this shot, Bond is supposed to be puzzling over how do I get in there without, getting in trouble or getting caught. Yeah. Practical effects and good camera placement still kicking the shit out of CGI. Yeah. And there is something... the next shot, this one. I don't know how they pulled this off. And I really, really want to. Because this is a shot where, if you look at... let me see here. Okay. If you look at this spot here, and you might have to zoom it in, but hopefully you don't. But if you look here, there's a bullet hole here. Bond has used the 44 Magnum to shoot this guy from this side and blown out half of his head. Okay, fine. But then the eyes roll back, and I don't know if this was a puppet, if this was a makeup effect, if this was some sort of really well done camera trick. I have no idea. I just know it wasn't fucking CGI. And that amazes me. No, yeah. I felt ripped off because I was hoping for a, me, I'm a sword fighting guy. Right? And I was really kind of hoping for a even brief machete fencing kind of combat. Didn't happen. Yeah, this is the closest we got was one or two basic moves, and then, yeah, not so much. Let's see. Oh, yeah. Look, the villains have an underground base. I really don't know if... and I did say, oh, look, the villain's underground lair is a trope that is now born. Not necessarily, and probably not likely, but it's definitely been, how to put it, reinforced, we'll say. Yeah. That gun, I had to go to the Internet Movie Firearms database, which is also how I found out that the Smith & Wesson 29 was there as well. But apparently this gun is a shark gun, but it's a custom prop that was made for the film. Yeah. possibly just so they could, oops, that's the cast and crew, that belongs back here. And that's trivia, that also belongs back here, first to have a look at later. We're back to this one. It did, however, give you the opportunity for some comedy. Yeah, not great comedy, but again, this is what Austin Powers was spoofing. So, let's see. Yeah, this scene didn't turn out exactly the way it did in the book either, and I think in the novel it was far better executed. Uh, of course, when it really matters, Bond's watch will grab the thing that it absolutely has to grab. However, Bond's watch is magnetic. Yeah, that thing might be made of metal, but the surface and several things around it were also made of metal. Bond should have caught a face full of shrapnel doing this. Let alone the fact that the fucking thing turns into a fucking buzzsaw. And this was total Deus Machina. And I mean Machina. Because, fuck, there was no mention of a buzzsaw feature in this watch when Q gave it to him. Also, shout out to the OG Q. Yeah. Well, maybe not the OG Q, but you know what I mean. This, yeah, and critics did point this out as well. At the time, this was a bit of a disappointing final fight with the big bad guy. How did they put it? It does have an edit worthy of a Monty Python adventure, though, and I won't spoil it. It's Big Trouble in Little China might have been inspired by it. Let's put it that way. And of course, yeah, more shots of gorgeous Jane Seymour. Let's see. Oh. This isn't... Oh, yeah, no, okay. Yeah, that's one hell of a smile. Yeah, it turned out the henchman, Julius Harris, who I did point out was my favorite part of the movie earlier, uh, it turned out he was actually the real boss fight. And then this is the last shot of the film. It's Baron Samedi sitting on the front of the train laughing, and it's just a great way to end the film. It was really good. What did I say? It was a fun note to end on. Yeah. Okay, so uh, well, we'll go to the cast and crew really quick. So this was Guy Hamilton who directed this, and written by Tom Mankiewicz. Now they didn't even credit Ian Fleming, other than to call it Ian Fleming's James Bond, which might be something that they did in a re-release or an update. Tom Mankiewicz did the screenplay. I'm wondering what else he did because some of the writing in this was really bad. Born June 1st, 1942. Oh no. Really? It's my favorite movie. Ow. He was, okay, he was additional crew. Okay, good enough. Yeah, Lady Hawk is my favorite movie, and I won't make any bones about it. So we had Roger Moore, Yaphet Kotto, Jane Seymour, Clifton James. This is what Jane Seymour looks like these days, by the way. Still a very attractive woman. Anyway, we'll go to the trivia here now really quick, and then I'll give you my rating and recommendation. So, we covered this piece about Ross Kananga. So Connery turned down the then astronomical sum of $5.5 million to play Bond for a seventh time. Connery gave Moore his personal seal of approval for inheriting his role, calling him, quote, an ideal Bond. I think Connery just wanted shut of the role, personally. Moore was 45 when he made his debut, making him the oldest actor to portray the character. The youngest was Lazenby, who was 29 and on Her Majesty's Secret Service. The part on the bridge of the crocodile farm was extremely dangerous to film since crocodiles are able to jump up from the water and attack, which the crew found out relatively shortly before filming. Yeah. The boat chase was originally written in the script as just Scene 156, the most terrific boat chase you've ever seen. I like that. Bond's speedboat jump, the shot that I showed you, made it into the Guinness Book of World Records for its distance of 110 feet, 33.5 meters, a record that stood for 3 years. Clifton James' spontaneous reaction in that scene was kept in the final print. Bond's stunt boat used to make the high jump over Sheriff Pepper's car was specially designed with a redistributed weight so it would fly through the air with more stability. The second boat was not scripted to collide with the police car, but after this happened while shooting the stunt, the script was changed to accommodate it. What else do we got here? The producers made a conscious decision to make Roger Moore's Bond significantly different. In this film, Bond never orders a vodka martini, but drinks bourbon whiskey neat instead. Mission briefing occurs in his flat, not the office. Only the second time Bond's apartment is featured in the movies. Bond does not wear a hat. He smokes cigars instead of cigarettes. The producers offered Clint Eastwood the role of James Bond, fresh from his success with Dirty Harry, which might be part of the reason why Dirty Harry's gun ended up in this film. He was flattered but declined, saying Bond should be portrayed by an English actor. Ironically, at this point, James Bond had never been played by an English actor. Connery was Scottish, Lazenby was Australian. The first Englishman to play Bond was Roger Moore. Geoffrey Holder hated working with snakes. As he was playing Baron Samedi, he was called upon to handle a lot of them. He was particularly against having to play the scene where his character falls into a coffin full of them. However, he was obligated to perform the scene without raising too much of a complaint, because Princess Alexandra was visiting the set the day the scene was being filmed, and he didn't want to lose face in front of royalty. Yeah. Moore suffered an injury during the boat chase. The engine cut out, and the momentum carried him into a boathouse. He cracked some of his front teeth and twisted his knee. Ouch. He had to walk on a cane for several days afterward, but was still able to complete the scene because all he had to do was sit in the boat. Moore had a fear of snakes, just like Holder. As a result, they hated shooting that scene. In addition, the script supervisor was so afraid she refused to be on set with them. One actor fainted while filming a scene where he's killed by a snake, and Jane Seymour became terrified as a reptile got closer. There's a scene where the snake is brought very close to Solitaire, and I think that might have actually been genuine terror in her eyes. The only James Bond movie with Roger Moore in which Felix Leiter appears. David Hedison, who played Felix, played the role again in License to Kill, becoming the first actor to reprise the part. Cool. Madeline Smith, Miss Caruso, said additional awkwardness of the bedroom scene was created by Roger Moore's overprotective wife, who was on the set during filming. In order to establish the effect of Bond unzip... Okay, so this is at the very beginning. This is the horny gadget thing. In order to establish the effect of Bond unzipping Miss Caruso's blue dress with his magnetic watch, a thin wire was attached to the zipper from the watch. A stagehand lay on the floor underneath Smith's body to pull the wire down, while Moore pretended to unzip the dress with his watch. According to Moore, it took 29 takes to get it right. While a very well-endowed Italian girl is clinging to you, yeah, I can see how it would take so long. According to Paul McCartney, the author of the theme song, him and Wings. After producer Albert Cubby Broccoli heard the title song in its final release form, he said, "Yeah, that's good for a demo. When are you going to do the real record?" And McCartney curtly replied, "That's it, Cub." The attempted assassination with a snake, that would be the speckled king snake that I pointed out, while Bond is bathing, was filmed in an unheated London set in midwinter. The temperature was near 10 degrees Celsius. Chilly enough to keep the snake sluggish. At a tropical temperature, the snake would have moved too swiftly for easy filming. Fair. Also, 10 degrees Celsius isn't all that cold. If it slows down snakes, I'm all for it. The first Bond film in which 007 has a liaison with a black woman, Rosie Carver. When the movie was released in South Africa, all of her love scenes were removed due to the apartheid policies of the government. Yeah, and in modern China, it wouldn't even be shown. But, you know. Let's blame the past for being the past, right? Let me finish this and then we'll finish that. Good tea. Okay. On his audio commentary for the DVD, Moore said he considered this to be his second best Bond movie after The Spy Who Loved Me. Okay. Well, at some point, I'm sure I'll end up getting to The Spy Who Loved Me. According to Yaphet Kotto, he was not allowed to do any press for this movie, nor was he allowed to attend the premiere. He states the producers told him they were afraid of the public's reaction to the villain being black. In the 70s. When did he actually say this? Because I'm not buying it. The magnetic wristwatch was Moore's personal favorite Q gadget. Yeah, it was Desmond Llewellyn who played Q in this. Patchett, the stunt driver who drove the double-decker bus, doubling for Moore as James Bond, In the sequence where the upper level of the bus is sheared off by a low bridge. I don't know if I even saw that. He was a bus driver in real life. Double-decker bus drivers in London go through a rigorous training program where they're required to swerve the bus on wet ground and keep it upright, much like is shown in the movie. According to Moore, Yaphet Kotto was difficult to work with. However, Kotto denied this and maintained that though he may have been quiet, he was courteous to everyone in the movie. Yeah, but for an actor, you need feedback. If you're too quiet, it can make you seem difficult to work with. Or it may be that it was just a work-style clash. Early in production, Moore was hospitalized with kidney stones. Ouch. Oh, later, Moore and Jane Seymour caught dysentery while shooting in Jamaica. Well, isn't that sexy? First Bond movie to be set in a fictional country. The next one to do this will be License to Kill in '89. Moore wrote a production diary during filming, which was simply titled Roger Moore as James Bond. It was published as a paperback in '73. If you're not interested... when 007 is held captive in a chair by Tee-Hee. Tee-Hee is Julius Harris's character, the one with the claw. Roger Moore's quip, "Butterhook," was improvised, which makes sense because it's supposed to be either a butterfly clasp or a butterfly hook. That's the technical proper term for the style of watch closure that he had. Jane Seymour said Roger was fantastic to work with. When I was in New Orleans or in Jamaica, he made sure every night that I was okay and safe, checked to see whom I was with. He'd include me in any social thing that happened. Can't imagine why. And to be fair, that's kind of natural protectiveness anyway, so that's fine. Moore was actively discouraging from raising his eyebrow, as that was a trademark of his previous successful character, Simon Templar. Yeah, the Saint. From like 10 years earlier. Jamaica, part-time home of James Bond's creator Ian Fleming, was used as the filming location for the fictitious country of Saint Monique. It was not called Jamaica, as that country had already been used as a setting for Dr. No. Jamaica is also a setting in the James Bond novel The Man with the Golden Gun and the short stories For Your Eyes Only and Octopussy. It's very true that you should write what you know, and clearly Fleming did that. Tom Mankiewicz, the screenwriter, dabbled with tarot cards to familiarize himself with the art. Took them to a party and performed tarot readings on the guests. At that party, Michael Caine and his then-girlfriend attended, and he used his tarot cards to predict the two would be married. Considering how him and Shakira met, it's pretty clear that marriage was in the cards. No pun intended. Anyway, if you don't know the story of how Michael Caine met his wife, it's worth looking up. There's a nifty little anecdotal video he told the story on, I think it was Graham Norton. It's worth looking up. It's funny. It's sweet. Mankiewicz said in his autobiography for years afterwards, Shakira was convinced he had special powers. No, sweetheart, it's just the ability to notice a pattern. McCartney's iconic theme song for this movie almost wasn't used. Producer Saltzman said he liked it, but wanted it to be sung by someone else, preferably a black female artist. There is a scene in the film where a black female does sing it. It's not the same. McCartney told producers he'd only sell the song for the film if he and his band were allowed to perform it for the film. Saltzman had passed on producing A Hard Day's Night and came to quip that he didn't want to turn down McCartney a second time. However, Saltzman would subsequently say he much preferred Brenda Arnault's version, that's the lady who sings it in the film, version of the song also heard during the movie. Oh wait, Llewellyn didn't appear in this movie as Q? Who the hell played Q in this movie? Give me a second. I thought that was Desmond Llewellyn. Maybe I was wrong. Can we have Q? Okay. Who played Q? Oops. In Live and Let Die. I would have sworn that was Desmond Llewellyn, or somebody who looked quite a lot like him. Dr. No 73s in total. Did they add this or what? Control F, Live and... irritating. Try the trivia. Yeah, okay. Llewellyn was not the first choice for the role of Q. Okay, that's unimportant. Llewellyn did not play Q in Live and Let Die. Producers felt too much attention was being paid on the gadgetry, so they downplayed it by cutting his role. Holy shit, and they still had that much gadgetry in it? However, audiences enjoyed the role of Q so much that Llewellyn was brought back indefinitely. He did not appear in Never Say Never Again with Sean Connery. This was not an official Eon production. The part of Q was played by Alec McCowan instead. So, who was Q in this film then? Okay, whatever. Yeah, Llewellyn didn't appear in this movie as Q. Producers also decided not to include the character, feeling too much was being made. Or maybe it was just M that gave him the gadgets? Yeah, I think that's right, actually. I think it was M and Miss Moneypenny who showed up at Bond's apartment. Mankiewicz originally wrote the main Bond girl to be black, with an eye on Diana Ross for the part. One of the producers told him it couldn't be done on account of some of their markets, primarily Japan and South Africa, banning all movies with interracial romances. It was years until another 007 photo played Die Another Day featured the lead Bond girl as black, Halle Berry. It holds the record for the most watched movie to be broadcast on British television when it was shown on January 20th, 1980. It attracted 23.5 million viewers. There were only 3 channels in the UK in 1980 and no home computers. Very limited number of home computers, anyway. Seymour arrived on set with a note from Richard Attenborough, who requested sympathetic treatment for his tired old daughter-in-law. She was 22. She may well need a shoulder to lean on. Solitaire is the only character to ever beat James Bond in a card game. Cool. Roger Moore wrote in his autobiography that he played a prank on Seymour. During lunch, she had a habit of asking people nearby to pass the ketchup, then the salt, then another sauce repeatedly. One day, Moore and the rest of the crew got up and left. When Seymour sat down, causing her to burst into tears, causing Moore to regret the joke. I can imagine, yeah. This is the first time in the Bond series that a rock song was used as a main title. Bond's apartment shown for the second time. Kananga, also known as Mr. Big, is at least partially based on Dr. Francois Papadoc Duvalier, dictator of Haiti, who used voodoo as the basis of his personality cult and even claimed that he was Baron Samedi. That might be true for the screenplay, but I don't think... let's see. Papadoc Duvalier reign. I don't think he was actually in charge of Haiti in Oh, yeah, no, he was. Okay, maybe that is actually the basis for Fleming's as well. Moore's mother was a great fan of silent star Richard Dix. Moore was able to get Dix's son a small part in this movie. Robert Dix played the agent who was murdered at his own New Orleans funeral. So that would be the fellow that we saw first. But his voice was dubbed by Shane Rimmer. Bernard Lee was very ill, causing producers to consider replacing him as M with Kenneth Moore. During the scenes in New York early on in the film, you can catch glimpses of the partially incomplete World Trade Center. I wasn't even looking for it, to be honest. The top few floors are still being fitted out with cladding. Wow. Ian Fleming based the Bond girls solid... it was Roger Moore's idea that Kananga should wear crocodile shoes for running across the crocodiles. That might be why he didn't do it very well. Took 6 friggin' takes, 193 stitches. Ouch. And they kept going through clothes and shoes. Ian Fleming based the Bond girl Solitaire's name on the Jamaican solitaire bird known as the Jamaican rufous-throated collier bird. Let's have a look at that. Her full name in the novel is Simone Luttrell, but this is never mentioned in the movie. And very rarely in the book, I think. So this is what a rufous-throated solitaire looks like. That's a pretty bird. Pretty bird. Pretty bird. Characters of Baron Samedi and Damballa are named after 2 powerful Loas in the voodoo religion. Again, we'll leave the accuracy of that aside. Roger Moore became the first actor to perform the gun barrel sequence without a hat. Good to know. That's the opening where the camera pans around inside a gun barrel and then fixes. Some exterior shots of Harlem are in fact filmed in Manhattan's Upper East Side. This was because as filming in Harlem took place, the producers were reportedly required to pay protection money to a local gang to ensure the crew's safety. When the cash ran out, they were encouraged to leave. After this movie, the Felix Leiter character did not appear again in the Eon Productions official series until The Living Daylights. This is the first movie in which Q does not appear. Okay, so he wasn't there at all. That makes sense. The book was actually the first in the series to make reference to Q Branch. The book follows directly from Casino Royale, in which Bond's hand is knife scarred with a Russian character, identifying him as a spy. Q, or Q Branch, performs surgery on the hand to conceal the scars. The character of Quarrel Jr. is a direct reference to the first Bond movie, Dr. No, which also featured a character named Quarrel. The original novel takes place before Dr. No, in which, as in the movie version, Quarrel is killed, and features the first appearance of the character. At one stage, the Bond girl character of Honey Rider from Dr. No was considered returning in this movie, but this idea was withdrawn. I also think this was probably one of the few Bond movies that didn't have some sort of a weird sexual pun or reference for the main female character. Since the director was a jazz fan, the screenwriter suggested that he film in New Orleans, Louisiana. Hamilton did not want to use Mardi Gras since Thunderball featured Junkin' New, a similar festivity. So after some discussions with the writer and location scouting with helicopters, he decided to use two well-known features of the city: the jazz funerals and the canals. Okay, I'm going to have to wrap this up because I'm running out of time before my stream today. The only James Bond movie to have a supernatural theme, though it doesn't really. Tarot cards used by Solitaire are the Tarot of the Witches deck, created specifically for this movie by Fergus Hall. Their reverse side, which has the 007 numbering on a red background, cannot be seen in the James Bond 007 Tarot book. The tarot card, the High Priestess, was in the likeness of Jane Seymour, who played Solitaire. Cool. 26 boats were built by the Glastron Boat Company for this movie. 17 were destroyed during rehearsals. A running theme in the official trailers was whenever a new Bond is introduced, the trailers for their first Bond movie includes music from their predecessor's first movie. Music from On Her Majesty's Secret Service can be heard in the trailers for this movie, and music from this movie, most notably George Martin's distinctive arrangement of the James Bond theme, can be heard in the trailers for The Living Daylights in '87. Cool. While Solitaire was supposed to be black, Rosie Carver was supposed to be white. Sure. Moore is the only Bond actor who was older than his predecessor. He was 3 years older than Connery. Voice artist. Let's see. Special security for the shooting in Harlem. Though it was his standard issue pistol, Bond does not fire his PPK in this movie. That's true. Though we do get to see him actually rack the slide on the thing in a fairly close-up. So, that interesting little factoid. So, that was the media review for Live and Let Die. I've been sitting far too long. Okay. My rating, 6 out of 10. And that's only that high because they kept some of the more important elements from the novel. The practical is so good. Even that blown-out headshot. Back then, that must have been amazing. I have no idea how they did it, and I'm going to end up having to find out, because it's going to drive me insane otherwise. To the point that I might email Adam fucking Savage and see what he knows. I did like Julius Harris. I didn't mind Kananga. He was pretty good. Again, the acting's not great in this. A lot of the dialogue is extremely blaxploitative. Yes, I'm going to keep using it. But it's a film of its time. We'll say that. So yeah, I give it a 6 out of 10 for, what I think of it. Do I recommend that you watch it? Fuck yes. It was still fun. And if you're looking for something popcorny to shut your brain off and watch, you can't go wrong with a Bond movie. So, yeah. So, other than that, and of course as is tradition, Other than that, I mean, I don't really have a lot to say about this. The costuming, the makeup, the sets. Oh my god, the set design was so good in this. Um, I mean, if you want to watch it on the basis of a history of cinematic art, by all means. If you want to watch it on the basis of, looking for great dialogue, you're not going to find it here. Uh, if you if you're a completionist, if you need to see every single Bond film, this isn't the worst one. I've seen worse. I'm probably going to have to watch them again. But just the same, this wasn't bad. It's not great. It's this is kind of a disillusionment for me because I remember really loving this film when I was a kid. I don't really know why now. But yeah. Um, and if you're offended by the word Negro, grow the fuck up. Anyway, folks, I hope you're doing well. I hope you continue to do well. And as always, rise and rise again until lambs become lions. Bye bye.